All right, let's get into it. Mike, you didn't have to go through this. You shouldn't have just slept with Melissa. When you made your decision, you should have left Sonny alone and stay with Melissa if that's what you wanted to do. You shouldn't have been worried about what Sonny was doing. You shouldn't have been caring about what Sonny is doing. Your priority should have been Melissa. As for Hollywood, I ain't mad at you, girl, because you are protecting your daughter, and I'm proud of you. But that don't mean you ain't gonna tell her to go back. But that's a whole nother conversation. As far as this situation, Mike, how are you gonna tell Blake? How are you gonna tell Blake that you got a baby on the way? And if Melissa in fact ends up pregnant, then you're gonna have 2 babies on the way, and both of them gonna be single mothers. I say that to say this. We gotta stop these epidemics, and there are ways to stop this stuff from happening, and that's just by not doing it at all. If you look at the Anthony and Amber situation, a lot of y'all sit up here and say, well, God can fix it. No, they got to fix it. God can only lead them to how to go about doing it. But you got to be the one to do the work. If God is not in both parties and one person is feeding into the 7 deadly sins or anything negative, it's never going to work. Negative and positive never work. It just don't. And that's the thing with Anthony and Amber. Negative and negative is never going to work. If you got somebody that's a non-believer that's not trying to become a believer or willing to give themselves to God, and what I mean by that, Anthony needs to be baptized, number one. Anthony needs to go through a thing. They have this thing where you go through this journey of becoming a Christian, or anybody being titles. I hate titles. But having the Holy Spirit. Y'all don't understand about the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is a very funny thing. You got to want the Holy Spirit to come in. And once the Holy Spirit comes in, you going to have to do what's right. When I made a choice to say, you know what, I'm ready to bring the Holy Spirit into my world, that's because I was ready for that. That's because I knew I wasn't going to do nothing else negative to the best of my ability. Meaning, I'm not going to intentionally do it. That don't mean negativity is not going to come to me, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do what's right. But that don't mean that I'm not going to be tested every day. And that's to be expected. I'm choosing not to do negativity. And when Anthony and them come to that realization and he's ready to bring that Holy Spirit in, don't bring the Holy Spirit unless you're ready for it. If you ain't ready for the Holy Spirit, don't even bring it in. So, it's just like with Nadia and Jay. You are living with a man that you're not married to. And now you can't deal with the fact of certain things. This is why I say, don't let somebody move in if you still want your personal space. If you still have that single mind frame, then you don't need to be in a relationship. Because now you just want a parent. You don't want a relationship, you want a parent. It's just like with PRing. We all know that Shayla don't like nobody. Shayla just uses people to get whatever it is that she wants. We know that and the only reason that Shayla wants to be around PRE is because to get closer to Anthony. Now, let me go to Angelina and Brody. I'm glad you finally admit your daughter got a problem, a mental problem. I'm glad we now know that Shayla really does have a mental illness. We now know this. And now we know the reason that Angelina is doing this, because she is scared of how Shayla handles things when she don't get what she wants. Bipolar. Been saying that for the longest. Now you're seeing it. So now it makes sense why they focus as much on Shayla as they do. Because Shayla is not mentally as strong as Zachary is. Zachary would never put up with what Shayla is putting up with. So the reason that Brody and them focus so much on Shayla is not because of that they don't love Zachary. They feel that Zachary can handle anything that come her way. They don't think that she needs them like that. Whereas Shayla, they know Shayla needs them because of her mental illness. So that is the reason why Angelina goes through all of these troubles to go through all this stuff to make sure that Shayla has what she wants. Because they don't know how to get her to understand that you're not always going to have everything you want. You're not always going to get everything that you want. You are going to go through some type of rejection. And a lot of people cannot handle the word no. They just can't. That's why you have so much essay and so much everything else. Because people cannot take no for an answer. And the one thing about people that can't take no for an answer, they're going to continue to keep doing it until they get what they want, even if that means hurting somebody else. And that's where they don't want get Shayla to go through. And I really want them to continue going down this rabbit hole, because I want to know if she's ever tried to hurt herself as far as skit land. Okay? Not real life. Skit land. So, like I said, I just like the fact they are going down this topic, because mental health is something that really we need to start taking a little bit more seriously than what we do. Mental health is not something that should not be acting like that's not something serious. Because mental is what controls everything else. Every decision, choice, action, behavior that you do impacts everything else. So if this ain't good, everything else is good. That's why they say when this gets messed up, everything else gets messed up. So the fact that Angelina is realizing finally that she made a mistake by all of this, I hope you stick to it. I hope you make your daughter realize that she needs to move on. And do I believe that when she move on that Anthony gonna be happy about it? Nope. That's why I said Anthony does not want Shayla to move on either. He don't want Shayla to move on because of his child. He don't want Amber to take away his assets. So he is just stuck in the middle with you. That's pretty much what that is. That's why I said the only person that I see growing in these skits is actually Melissa. Melissa's the only one that I see that actually is growing. So again, I get what all of y'all are saying. Don't disagree that God plays a very important, should play a very important. But if you don't let God be in the situation from the beginning, why are you asking him till the end after you did what you did and there's consequences and repercussions to now ask God to help you through it? Ask from the very beginning. Ask for God to lead you from the very beginning, and he'll lead you where you want to go. But you got to trust the process. That's all I can say about that. But being that I have spiritual things messing with me, because I do stuff like this, and how I know I'm in the right direction, because I always have something, spirits just like, don't say that. But this is why I take a couple days off. I'm taking the rest of the weekend off. So, like I said, y'all got to make some very difficult decisions. Again, I can't make these decisions for you. You can't. Nobody can make these decisions. All we can do is guide you or lead you to water. But you the one got to decide whether you're going to drink or not. All we can do is put out information and research, and everybody tell you stories about their experiences. But it's up to you whether you continue to do the things you ain't supposed to. The decision ultimately falls with you. There's nothing God can do, the devil can do. It is on you. You the one that got to make these choices. You the one that got to make these decisions. And all we can do is give you resources of how it can be prevented in multiple different ways, because things can hit you multiple different ways. There's 256 different ways to deal with one situation. Everybody goes about it differently. Everybody gets the same result, just in a different way. So the fact that you're hearing people tell the same story just in multiple different ways of how they got there, that is important. Because it isn't about the fact that it's the same situation. You're noticing that it's a pattern. So yeah, who you bring into the situation, who you bring into your world, who you bring into your peace and quiet and tranquility is very important. And that's why I talk about these country skits the way I do. Because in the end, there's always an end result. And there's always consequences and repercussions and karma. And there's no running from that. You will have to deal with the aftermath of what you chose. It can be positive, it can be negative. It can be both. But in the end, it is your choice of what you choose to do. And as a life coach, as I have one-on-one coaching with people, this is what you're going to find out. What were the choices you made back then that got you to where you at now? And what happens now that you know how you got there? How is your journey going to be now? What's your new life going to look like? What is your new journey going to look like? What is new path that you're going to be on? Are you going to let God basically help you through it from the beginning? Or wait till you go through something to bring him in? That's the problem. Y'all bring God in when y'all go through something, but you don't bring him in from the very beginning. I bring God in from the very beginning now. So anything that I do, I ask God before I do it, is this the right thing for me to do? Give me a sign, give me research, give me information that will tell me. And I get my answer. So